Hi, I'm Kyle Cohan, the owner of Wing Zone. We're proud to be associated with the Pat Dooley Show. Check us out at wingzone.com or come see us downtown on University Avenue.
All right, welcome to the latest Pat Dooley Show. This is the last one of the regular season. I guess you could say we'll do one more from whatever bowl site we're at, and we're going to find out where it's going to be, either New Orleans or Pasadena. I want to talk a little bit about the FSU game. Obviously, it was just a beautiful night, perfect weather. The flash bulbs going off, a great way for Tim Tebow and those seniors to go out, and the juniors. And I think Aaron Hernandez throwing that ball in the stands told you what his mindset is. But it was just a really great night. Unfortunately, it was marred a few days later by the whole Carlos Dunlap incident, and obviously he won't be playing against Alabama. However, there will be a lot of Gators who will be playing against Alabama, and I've said this all along. I really think this is a flip of the coin game. I mean, Alabama's better than they were a year ago. I think Florida's better in a different way. Alabama has got their defense is really good. They're still the same kind of team. They like to throw it a little, run it a lot. But I think Florida's so much better on defense. And a lot of you were saying, "Whoa, wait a minute, how can you say Florida's a better team?" Last year they're beating teams 63-5. Well, they were, because they were a better offensive team last year. But I think they're so much better defensively, and they're more mature, except for one guy, and more professional, as Urban keeps talking about. And you're probably wondering what I think will happen in the case of missing Carlos Dunlap. And my thing is, they're not going to lose the game because Carlos Dunlap isn't playing. He's a great player, no question about it. I think one thing they'll miss is him batting balls down the line of scrimmage about 2 or 3 a game. But the bottom line is if Florida loses, because Alabama was better. And don't forget, a year ago, Florida played this game without one of its best offensive players, in Percy Harvin, and still managed to win. Me, I don't bet against Tebow ever again. I did once, Oklahoma last year. How'd that work out for me? Not too good. But it should be fun. It's one of the great atmospheres. I've talked about this before. I think the SEC championship game in Atlanta is one of my favorite things to be at. And I've been there 3 times, even when Florida wasn't playing, and still loved it. Loved every second of it. The split crowd, the indoors, great stadium, great press box. People are just having a great time. And, you know, the intensity of the game, which I actually wrote about this in my column for our special section. I think Alabama's a rival now. I know Urban may not want to put them on the list because you have enough rivals as it is. Who's got more rivals in Florida? But I think they are a rivalry now. And because they've played, this will be the 7th time in the SEC championship game. And they've, there's a lot of bad blood. It goes back to a lot of different things. But I think Alabama fans kind of look at Florida as new money and their old money. And I think there definitely is a rivalry going on there. And certainly they're playing not only for an SEC championship, but kind of like, okay, I'm the king of the block right now. And we'll see if they continue to do that. Now, this was something I wrote about, or will be writing about for Saturday's paper. I talked to several people about this. Florida and Alabama have kind of distanced themselves from the rest of the conference. Think about this stat. In the last 2 regular seasons, Florida and Alabama combined 31-1, and the one loss by 1 point. That's an SEC play. That's pretty amazing. But all the experts tell me, and I'm talking about guys like Gary Danielson, Tony Barnhart, they aren't going to distance themselves because the league's too good. Teams are going to catch up. They're going to have a year here. And, look at Florida next year. We're losing Tebow and all the seniors. So, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe they will. Maybe it'll be like 92-96 when they dominated. I asked Nick Saban about it. He said he couldn't remember 92-96. Okay, it wasn't that hard a question. But I remember it very well when they played 92, 93, 94, 96, all in that championship game. All right, so we're going to go to 3 things right now. All right, 3 things I learned this weekend. Number 1, Texas really wants Colt McCoy to win the Heisman Trophy, and I know this because I keep getting mail from him. Enough, okay? I understand how good he is. You don't have to FedEx to my house a DVD showing how great he is, and then another one here at the paper. I get it. Colt McCoy's good, but I know that those kind of mailings are for the uneducated Heisman voters, which is about, it's 950 Heisman voters, so that's about 450 of them. But don't send any more to me, okay, Texas? I don't need him. I know how good he is. It reminds me of the year that when Ryan Leaf was a candidate and they sent out actual leaves to the media. That swayed my vote. That was it. I was done. I had to go with him. So, Colt, you're on my ballot right now. We'll see. We'll see after this Saturday who ends up winning it. Number 2, the SEC is a lot better than the ACC. And you're sitting at home going, duh. Well, I think there was a lot of people that thought ACC, it's coming on. They're playing a little better football. SEC may be overrated. Then you had 3 rivalry games this week. You had obviously Florida FSU, South Carolina Clemson, and Georgia Tech. In those 3 games, not only did the SEC win all of them, they rushed for 873 yards. Think about that, 873 yards in 3 games. You know why? Because the SEC is bigger and stronger and faster than the ACC. And when you're bigger, stronger, faster, you run the ball because you don't have to throw it very much. You just run right up their throats, and that happens. But there is no truth to the rumor. I know a lot of you have heard this, that Georgia and South Carolina are going to play for the ACC title down in Tampa. No, it's still going to be Clemson and Georgia Tech. And the number 3 thing, and I know this is another duh, Florida's basketball team's not bad. I think a lot of us thought they were going to stink again this year. And I remember after watching their first 2 games going, oh, NIT, man, they can't shoot. Well, they don't need to shoot that great. They're shooting better, obviously, but to go and obviously to beat Florida State at home, that was a big win. To go and beat Michigan State on the road, number 2 team, probably a little overrated, but still, you beat them in a neutral site and then demolish Rutgers. And then, of course, the big win over Florida A&M. But what a week for the Gator basketball team. I think people are kind of excited. Not totally excited yet because it's still football season. But they're kind of into it. They're saying, hey, this may be a fun team to watch. We talked about it before on this show. Billy Donovan likes this team a lot. He told us all preseason how much he liked this team, and he's got guys playing where they're supposed to play. So they're a lot more fun to watch this season so far. And we'll see what happens down in Tampa on Thursday when they face Syracuse. So that's going to do it for 3 things, and we're going to move forward with our interview. We're going to interview a guy who made the winning kick in an SEC title game. Think about who it is. Who is it? Come on. You know it. Come on. We'll be right back.
The Pat Dooley Show, brought to you by Wing Zone, locally owned and operated, featuring 15 award-winning flavors. Count on Wing Zone for all of your tailgating needs. Call or order online at wingzone.com. Call for daily lunch specials. Ask about our 2 for $12 special.
All right, welcome back to the Pat Dooley Show. And if you were real smart, you figured out my clue on who my guest is going to be, because I told him, Judd, that I was going to bring in somebody who kicked a winning kick in an SEC championship game, and you're the only one I can think of.
Well, I guess we'll call it, yeah, it was a winning kick.
It was a winning kick.
People always say to Judd, well, do you have any game winners last second? I said, yeah, 23-24.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was a very short kick.
24-23. You don't say the losing score back.
That's right.
I get on my wife about that all the time.
Yeah, you got to learn.
24-23, and I know you out there remember that game in 1994 when Florida was leaking oil on offense and Spurrier had to go to the trick plays. And then you guys, like dummies, do the Nestea plunge after the extra point and could have gotten a 15-yard penalty.
That's funny because, if you watch, Stallings was out on the field 10 yards screaming for a flag. And Shane Edge and I were talking about the other day because we're trying to get Caleb Sturgis and Chaz to do it. Oh. Chaz wants to. Caleb wants no part of it.
Yeah, he knows what could come at the end.
And, if you did that these days, though, there'd be flags everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I saw Reedell Anthony was talking about pulling the shotgun off the shoulder and the pump.
Yeah.
If you do that today, they throw him out of the game.
It would be, I'm surprised that the referees don't run up to Caleb when he makes an extra point. No celebrating. It's gotten so out of control.
Well, if you look, they have the video of that down in the Hall of Champions on the video screen, and they show us doing it.
Do they?
And Chaz and Caleb think it's of course, they don't even know what the Nestea plunge. Yeah. I have to explain to them about this old commercial.
Yeah, it was very old. We actually do it in the pool sometimes, Kelsey and I. But obviously that was a fun game. I think most people know your story about how you came to Florida as a walk-on, and that one day. Where was that? Was that in Vandy? When was it when Spurrier walked in and said, "All right, Judd, you're kicking now"?
Well, it was actually at South Carolina, and Bart Edmiston had been the kicker. He was Spurrier's big recruit, and he was struggling. And finally, he missed one in the first half, and the kickers used to hang out in the hallway. And he just walked out in the hallway, looked down at us, and said, "Okay, Judd, Bart, you're out. Judd, you're up." And of course, I'm sitting there with a banana in my hand. I throw it down and run out of the field, and I kicked 2 extra points. So we didn't attempt any field goals, but I remember thinking, if I miss this extra point, I'll never see the field again. And then the next week we go to Vandy, and he names me the starter, and my very first field goal attempt ever was 47 yards. I thought I was going to throw up. And I drilled it and made a couple more, and he actually gave me the game ball.
Did he really?
So I went from, a walk-on kicker is as low as you can get. It is.
Well, sports writer's lower, but then,
we're probably about level. And then I went from that and very quickly, and then I started the next year, and then I won the Lou Groza. So it was just like, I was just excited to wear that Gator helmet to All-American. It was such a fast climb, but it was a neat, it made me appreciate it more, I think.
Now, you worked with Hetland, I know, at one point. Have you worked with Caleb at all?
I've talked to Caleb, we text a lot and talk. And after, he won the final, he was in the finals for the Groza, and then he went to South Carolina and just. Obviously they were still bombs, 52-yarder,
right.
54, and then he missed a short one. But
right, 27.
He just started getting the hooks, and if anybody plays golf, you try to kill it. And I think when you get out to 52 and 54, you try to, and it's a golf swing. It's exactly like kicking a football. I mean, your foot is the golf club, and you can hit some other hooks. You can slice it, hit it fat. And I talked to Caleb a little bit about it, and I slowed it down actually. He needs to go out there and try to kick a fade. Is what he needs to do. His foot's coming, in my opinion, it's coming a little too far inside, and he's getting some spin hooked on it. And that kid's got power to burn. He can just smooth it from 55, and I think he just needs to slow it down. And this last game, they were more on point. I mean,
Isn't it? Everybody talks about leg strength with kickers, but isn't it hip strength? Isn't that a big factor as well?
And like I just said, it's exactly the same. It really is where your plant foot is, where it lands. Because in a golf swing, it's where you can play the ball back in your stance or up in your stance, correct? Yeah. And where your plant foot is where your foot's coming in. And when you kick off a block in high school, your plant foot's got to be farther back so your foot hits the ball in the upswing. And when you go to the ground, it's got to be farther up so it catches it on the down. Yeah. Just like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like when you hit a tee shot, on a golf, you got to put the ball up in your stance, right? Swing up at it. I've always wanted to write a book about different, but I don't think enough people care about kicking a golf.
Nah, probably not. But if it ever comes up, I'll write it for you. How's that?
Coach Spurrier and I used to love to talk. He used to think that was the greatest thing in the world, that I would take the two and combine them. That was his life was football.
Yeah, I remember writing a story about you when you were a kicker, and we talked about the golf angle of it, and at that time. And it's funny because you're a really good golfer, and you were a really good kicker. When's the last time you kicked the ball?
I still kick. As a matter of fact, before Connor's practice the other night, my son's Peewee Packers, they were all talking about Caleb Sturgis and his 56-yarder. So I got a football, and we went out. We kept going back, and I drilled it from 56.
No way.
It was off a high school block.
No way.
I did. I had the whole team there, and I was barefooted.
56 feet, baby.
Barefooted. Now, it wasn't my first try. About my fifth try, I put it through. But
that's good, though.
And then I hobbled off, and my quad is still killing me. I'm not kidding you. It still hurts.
Well, that's not surprising. You're old now. Okay? You're not Dooley.
I mean,
old,
you feel the same, doesn't it? It feels like I was playing yesterday, but I'm.
Now, everybody knows that the great game he had against Georgia, and I've been lobbying to get him into the Florida-Georgia Hall of Fame. I pushed. I wrote on my ballot, if Judd doesn't go in next year, I'm not voting anymore. So we'll see if we can get you in next year. But you told a great story about that when we were doing my book together, that he just kept taking divots, and Shaner had mud all over his face.
Well, if you've seen the highlights of that game, I don't know how many inches of water fell before the game, and it was, literally you'd stand on the field. The grass was thick on that field anyway. So Shane would just go out there at that point and just kind of push the mud, and like I said, it was just like hitting a wedge out of a bad lie. You dig it out, and I would just cascade edges in his face mask. Of course, I'm white and pristine, right? And Shane would cover, and he'd stand up and look at me in the water's in mud, and he just would laugh, and he'd say, just keep doing it if you keep making them. And we ended up attempting 4 field goals that game, which is, it was one of the greatest games. I mean, you can go back and watch it.
It was.
Eric Zier, no time on the clock, I got to run one more play.
Right.
And Eric Rhett, just
Eric Rhett was a man that day.
Bull, and then I don't know how many yards he had.
I forgot how short he was until I saw him after the game Saturday.
Well, you see these guys today. The running backs are. I mean, he wasn't very tall, but boy, he was strong. I think he benched 450, 480. He was.
What was your bench?
48, 50. Take off the 0.
You don't need to be strong in your upper body, do you?
No, pencil legs.
All right, that's going to do it for our interview. We're going to come back and bring Judd back for our either-or segment, as we always do. But right now, it's time for the list.
Wing Zone was started in Gainesville and has over 70 locations across the country. Our Wing Zone has been recognized by the Wing Zone Corporation in 2007 as Franchise of the Year. Call 352-331-6011 or visit us online at wingzone.com.
All right, it's time for the latest list, and we're at the end of the season, so kind of run out of really interesting things to talk about. But here's one for you. 5 awards that have been won by Florida players you may not be aware of. We'll see if you are. Number 5, the Jack Tatum Award was won in 2006 by Reggie Nelson. Did you know that? Reggie Nelson, not quite the hitter Jack Tatum was, but certainly hit very hard and great safety. So maybe the best safety to ever play at Florida. You can certainly make that argument. Number 4, the Sammy Baugh Trophy went to John Reeves in 1971. The interesting thing is they were 4-7 that year. I guess it must have been a Lifetime Achievement Award for John. But Sammy Baugh Trophy to John Reeves. Who'd have thought? 69, I can see you giving it to him when he was unbelievable, and they went 9-1-1. But 4-7 quarterback gets a Sammy Baugh. He did, though, that year, set the national record for total passing yards, and, of course, that was a scene of the famous Florida flop. Don't bring that up around Miami fans, by the way. Number 3, the National Quarterback Club Quarterback of the Year to Chris Leak in 2006. I don't remember that happening. Do you? I don't. And deservedly so. Had a great year, and obviously was a champion, national champion quarterback. Number 2, the Touchdown Club of Columbus Freshman of the Year Award went to Emmitt Smith in 1987. Did you know that? Is it Columbus, Ohio, Columbus, Georgia, Columbus, Mississippi? We've been to Columbus, Mississippi. Which one is it? I don't know, but he won that award. And the number 1 award you may not be aware of, the Ray Graves Award, MVP of the team. Tim Tebow's won it twice. Did you know that? You didn't. So feel educated right now. You have to feel like you learned something on the Pat Dooley Show today. It's been a long season, okay? We're just trying to get through it and get on to find out where we're going to go.
Check out the Pat Dooley Show, brought to you by Wing Zone. Remember, when it comes to your next football party, Wing Zone has you covered. Now offering convenient delivery. Call 352-377-2473 or go online to wingzone.com to order today.
All right, it's time for our latest segment of Either Or. I'm joined again by Judd Davis, All-American kicker, winner of the Grozo Award, and great golfer, unfortunately, because he's kicked my butt too many times. Number 1, what's harder to hit solid, a bad hold or a bad lie?
I think bad lie, because a bad hold, you just blame it. You can always blame it on the kicker. I mean, the holder.
You can't blame the grass because you hit it there, right?
But you can't. Well, I tried to blame it on the holder a few times with Coach Spurrier, and he didn't want to hear it. But Shane always stepped up. So, yeah, I think I'll go. I don't know. You get another chance. You don't get a chance with a bad hold, another chance. Yeah, bad hold.
Well, the thing is, with a bad hold, I mean, you got no chance if the ball's sideways or the laces are facing you. It can be an issue. The bad lie, if you're good enough, you can go down and get it, knock it up on the green. There is a golden rule. You can't blame the holder. You really can't. And you got to pray that the holder will go to your defense, but they never do. No. Well, least of all Shane Edge. He's certainly not going to. Number 2, if you had one kicker to win a game, big game, Adam Vinatieri or Morton Anderson?
Oh, that's tough. That's tough.
I think Morton's got the all-time record, doesn't he, for percentage? Or he had it?
Yeah, Vinatieri, though, man, in the snow, the rain. I mean, he's going to go down as. I mean, Morton's been forever. I gotta go Vinatieri. He's been proven.
Was it Morton or Gary Anderson that missed that kick against the Falcons about 7 years ago?
Gary.
That was Gary. Okay.
Gary. Yeah.
All right, Morton's pretty good. All right, number 3, position you would like to have played once in your life: point guard or quarterback?
Gosh.
No, I'm talking about at the college level. No, I know you might have played Pee-wee quarterback.
Yeah, right. I think you got to go. You got to go for the glory. You got to go quarterback. I mean, I think I was never. I mean, I was tall and skinny, but now point guard, I think you get buried, and you can do Charlie Ward and do both.
Do both, yeah. There you
made a pretty good living. You live longer as a point guard.
Did you play any basketball?
I played a little bit, but I was always playing golf.
And soccer.
Soccer.
The story, yeah, soccer geek.
Well, all kickers.
Well, a lot of people don't know you're from the north, actually, and that you started playing a lot of soccer up there. In fact, weren't you talking about going to Notre Dame and play soccer at one point?
No, I was never. I mean, we played. I lived 15 minutes from Notre Dame, and I grew up a huge Notre Dame fan. We'd watch them play IU, and then we moved down here. What first game we go to the Sugar Bowl, play Notre Dame. I quickly
didn't like them anymore.
Oh God, Lou Holtz took it to us. Remember that game?
Well, he took it to you because you had no linebackers left.
And Jerome Bettis came in.
Was Greg Diamond playing linebacker, I think?
I think he still has icing down from Jerome Bettis running him over.
Yeah, that was the bus. You talk about getting thrown
That's
under the
back
bus.
when he actually still had some speed, too.
Oh, yeah, he could run. And you guys settled for too many field goals.
I think we may have partied a little bit too much that week.
Yeah, I remember it was a great picture that they sent us back from New Orleans, and everybody's eyes are all glassy, and Brad Culpepper was like, ooh. I was like, I don't like their odds.
Yeah, Holtz, they were in bed to sleep, and we were still roaming around Bourbon Street, I think.
That can happen. I have heard that. Not that I would ever do anything like that. All right, number 4. Last question on either or. Who's having a worse week, Tiger Woods or Carlos Dunlap?
Oh gosh, that's a tough. I got to go with Tiger because that'll be burned forever. 10 years from now,
I can hear the voicemail now in my head.
I've listened to it. I've listened to it.
I think I'm going to make it my ringtone. It's Tiger. I need a huge favor.
And it's funny because I've actually heard a voicemail from before he was married at a golf tournament she played, and then he said, "Hey, it's Tigers."
Tigers?
Dude, it's Tigers.
Now he's when it's formal, it's Tiger.
Yeah.
This is Tiger Woods, Esquire.
Boy,
please get your name off.
Hear the panic in his voice, couldn't you?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was there.
Carlos, he'll remember this. I mean, I don't know what it's going to cost him as far as draft status and money, but I mean, it probably will be. He'll go to his workouts and he'll run his times, and they'll quickly forget.
And they'll go, "You're 6'8" and you have a wingspan like the Predator." Yeah. All right, so you had a DUI. We can get over that.
Well, is he going to play if they win? Are they going to play in Pasadena?
That's a very good question. I don't know. And I don't know that it's going to be up to Urban. I think that this could be a Bernie Match and Jeremy Foley decision.
Above his head.
Yeah. But, I mean, his one game is a pretty good penalty for anybody. But, I mean, what would you, as a teammate, what would you be thinking right now about Carlos Dunlap?
Well, 3:30 in the morning, and I guess he was just hammered.
Tryptophan. That was a problem. He had too much turkey.
The car was in gear. But
and they can't wake you up?
See, when they take away Jan Hall.
Yeah.
They take away see what happens? See, there's no control.
Now, when did they close that down or stop doing that? Was it
mid-90s? Late. I think it was late 90s. And that's where you really developed a bond. When we shoot pool and hang out, and now they're study halls and they have tutors and things. What's that all about? Where's the pool tables and the ping pong tables?
Before I let you go, Judd, give me a pick on the game Saturday, Florida, Alabama.
I saw what is the spread now? Is it 4?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
And it's probably going to maybe go. I don't know. Is Ingram? I think if Tebow comes out and he played like he did last week, and then it's almost like he just steps up and just.
Big games.
Well, last year against Alabama, some of the passes he threw down the stretch. I mean, all of a sudden he just decided to start throwing spirals.
Yeah.
Right. There's
only spirals.
Some of the passes he threw last week were gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then other, the defenses they're a mirror image except for quarterbacks. I think they'll, I don't know, 23-17, something like that.
No, you're supposed to say 24-23.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because that was your game.
And Caleb.
Look, my man's wearing a Sugar Bowl watch here.
Look
at that.
My watch broke last night, and I dug this literally. Look, it doesn't even work. Look, it's not even taken. And I'm thinking I gotta wear something.
Well, what kind of gifts did you get back then for the Sugar Bowl?
Nothing like they do now.
Now they get like DVD players and camcorders and.
We got some pretty cool stuff. I mean, the jackets.
Chryslers.
Yeah, there's. What was it back then? It was a tape player. Now they're getting.
What comes with a Casey and the Sunshine Band.
That's right. Now they're getting Xboxes, Wii's, and all that stuff. And
I should have been a football player. All right, that's going to do it for Either Or. We're going to come back with Dr. Football's email bag. Judd, thanks for coming in.
All right, it was fun.
We'll see you in just a minute. All right, let's see what we got this week. Thank you. Dr. Football. Let's say Texas loses and Cincinnati loses. You misspelled Cincinnati here, buddy. And Florida loses to Alabama in 5 overtimes. Any way we could see a rematch in Pasadena? Kelly from Jupiter. Well, no, I don't think you can. I think a lot of people have said you could, but remember, these are human voters who are basically going to decide it. I mean, the computers are a third of it, but the human voters are going to make the final decision because that's 2/3 of the poll, the coaches, and then the Harris Interactive poll made up of a bunch of dummies. But the bottom line is, if you remember 2006, what did Urban Meyer say when everybody's talking about Michigan, whether Michigan should play Ohio State again? They had their shot. Well, that's what I think a lot of people are going to remember. They had their shot. And if Florida loses to Alabama, I don't think the public wants a rematch. I think they want to see something fresh. If it's TCU, it's kind of exciting. We'll see. We've seen TCU win games as an underdog and win games in their conference. Let's see what they do with the big stage. And this will be an occasion where you can't say, like last year, Alabama was disinterested in the Sugar Bowl, so they got killed by Utah. Well, Texas will be interesting. They'll have Texas's attention. So that would be an interesting game. I don't think any of us really want to see that. I mean, I want to go to the Newport Beach Marriott Spa and Resort, as does my wife and daughter. So hopefully Florida can get the win and get us out there. But we'll see what happens there. But going back to the question, Kelly, I don't think that'll happen. I think it's about an 85% chance that it won't happen. So we'll see what happens this weekend. Should be wild, should be crazy, and I've enjoyed doing this show. We will be doing one more show from the bowl game, whatever bowl game it is, either in New Orleans or in Pasadena. Let's do it poolside, Trish. We'll do something poolside, get a guest, and have some fun with it as well. So we won't have the fancy graphics, but that'll work out. So we'll see you in either December or January, I guess, depending on which game they go to. Until then, Pat Dooley, the Gainesville Sun, saying so long from the Sunshine State.